It's your girl, Killer K, aka K Love in the building. Hey, tell me how you feeling. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Hope you guys are doing good today. I call it Happy Venusians Day because I feel like my Venusians, okay, a lot of y'all just be feeling this day. I'm feeling this day. I hope that you guys are feeling loved and beautiful and good within self. I'm going to give us a tale of the true twin soul journey, the sovereign feminine and sovereign masculine journey. I was supposed to do this video before, but I'm just doing it now. Better late than never. So if you're new to this channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button with the post notification bell so you don't miss when you get Cisco live. If you're not new, I appreciate you for coming back to the channel. I appreciate the love, comments, subscribes, and bookings. So yeah, we're gonna get into this energy today. So I know that a lot of you guys, and especially, during this day, a lot of you guys are just like, so what's up with my twin flame or soulmate or your twin soul, whatever the case may be. And I kind of want to describe in grander theory what is actually happening on this journey. Okay, so a lot of us think that, oh, the twin flame, twin soul, twin, whatever soulmate journey is the spiritual journey. Like, I'm doing this for a divine union, and that is not the case. And actually, even the word divine union, okay, we're in the age of Aquarius. So we have to recognize where we have exceeded past certain storylines and where we're able to build from that instead of building in that energy. So I just want to get some, information for that. But I want to describe like what I'll be discussing in this live. So in this live, I'll be discussing the cosmic conflict. So what is the initial conflict that we experienced on an internal level, an interpersonal level within our own energies, within your own sovereign masculine and your own sovereign feminine within you? Okay, so what's the cosmic conflict? And then the internal process of the cosmic conflict. And that actually breaks down a couple different questions that people have. So I'm going to get into that, but I'm just giving y'all an overview. And then we're going to get into the universal unions occurring now and the ritual reenactment of the original cosmic conflict. So here we're going to understand again why certain things are happening. Then we're going to get into the 3, 6, 9, and 12 communication going from dimensional to trimensional energies, because this year is a Venus year and that's what it represents. So I'm just going to get started, you guys. I hope that it's digestible information. So a lot of these unions that we see, we have a lot of readers on YouTube, myself included, who have spoken about these divine unions. And I don't like to use the word divine because I feel as though it's the same thing as calling yourself a god or a goddess. Like, you can go beyond that. You can be an empress, an emperor. You can be a celestial, right? You don't have to limit yourself to a certain definition, right? So it's kind of like calling yourself a king when you can be an emperor, or calling yourself an emperor when you can be a god, or calling yourself a god when you can be God body, right? So I just kind of want us to understand the terms that we're using and really understand the terms that we're using and how it can create a cap on our consciousness. It can create a cap on like where we are seeing ourselves and kind of placing ourselves in a certain conscious range when we are unfathomable. We are like such a high spectrum of energy that we don't have to cap our consciousness. We don't have to just get to this level and that's it. We can go way more beyond, right? We are souls. We have ultimate energy. So I'm going to get into the cosmic conflict here. And this is pretty much going to describe the original twin flame journey. Okay, so this is the original journey of the sovereign feminine, sovereign masculine. So basically the cosmic conflict, the original cosmic conflict, which was the fall from grace cosmically, the cosmic separation, which led specific extraterrestrial beings to leave a trail of destruction, war, and deconstruction of their own universal mother. So when you hear the cosmic conflict, this has a lot to do with the energies. Because when we think about sovereign feminine and sovereign masculine, it's not just about man or woman. It's the energy of masculine versus feminine, right? So When we see a flower blooming, that is a feminine thing, right? When we see a seed being planted, right, that could be considered a masculine thing. So the energies that we see in general, in totality, not related specifically to a man or a woman, but the energies of it, right? Okay. So like, for example, the energy of watering a seed could be considered, it could be considered feminine and masculine. And that's also the thing. When we get deeper into this conversation, we're going to talk about the God body, because the God body allows us to see that feminine and masculine are just one and the same, right? So we're just going to stick to the cosmic conflict. So this is in regards to masculine and feminine energy, and it involves other beings, other sentientals, other life forms inhabiting celestial bodies, such as Earth. We inhabit Earth, we're a sentiental to Earth. So the original cosmic conflict created and left a trail of destruction, war, and destruction of their own universal mother. And how we can see remnants of this is that even in our own capitalistic society, we see that just in general, people are fighting for money. People are fighting for resources, right? That is a remnant of the original cosmic conflict, the separation from the universal mother, right? And then the feminine, right? So that's the feminine aspect of the God body from the sovereign masculine and the sovereign feminine. Now, this is just the cosmic conflict, and I'm going to explain the internal process of this. But once the sovereign femme and the sovereign masc separate, it is for a high level. It is for a really good purpose. But once they separate, they come into divine law. So they go from being sovereign, because when they're sovereign, they're a God body. That's the sovereign celestial hermaphrodite God body energy. That means that you create just by existing as who you are. By having feminine and masculine energy at a sovereign level, you can create whatever you want. You don't have to seek out the feminine or the masculine externally. It exists within your field. But once you separate that energy, once you separate it, it falls from being sovereign and God body into divine masculine and divine feminine. And the reason it does that is because now you've separated something so high vibrational that the sacrifice for being separated is to be under divine law, meaning you kind of can occur karma, or the things that you do can occur debt, right? Because that's the sacrifice that you made. It's kind of high level. I'm going to explain it. So this is karmic retributions now in place. This is the sacrifice that the God body made in order to gain the knowledge and wisdom of self, in order to elevate higher in sovereignty. We become disharmonized in order to propel our sovereignty into greater altitudes of living light and living dark energy through the material realms, to then reunite and reharmonize self. So, for example, I'm just going to give you an example that is a little less high level, so that way it's digestible for everyone to understand. For example, when a mother decides to be a mother, right? It's a beautiful thing. She decides, or just, when she becomes pregnant, when her and her masculine have decided they want to have a baby, okay? So she is now susceptible to the labor pains, to the cramps, to the swollen feet, to the backaches, to not being able to sleep. That is the sacrifice that she made to birth a new version of herself and her masculine. Okay, so when we talk about sacrifice, sacrifice is not a bad thing, right? You had to sacrifice your high vibrational energy in order to descend on this earth for a reason. So a lot of us are high level souls. We're here doing the work. We're the star seeds, right? But had we not come down in order to go back up, right? Because when you do this work on earth in this tangible reality, when you do the soul work, right? You elevate higher when you go back into your field of existence, to from where you came from. So, again, we have to go low to come high. That's just how things work. If we always stayed high and we never went low, we wouldn't have that energy to push us back high. We would essentially cap ourselves. If we only remained at a certain vibration, we would cap ourselves. Souls come to earth to learn. And similar to the cosmic conflict, the original cosmic conflict, the separation, which is a perceived separation because you always come back, right? You always, come back together. But the perceived separation is in order for both parts to reach higher levels of sovereignty, to reharmonize self. Okay? So it's kind of like saying, all right, well, I've learned this much in high school, or I've learned this much in college. And I want to get deeper into my studies here. I want to get deeper into it. So I'm going to go back and master the things that I haven't been too acute on, things that I haven't fully like grasped, or things that I want to get deeper into detail with to master myself. Okay, then I can get my master's degree, right? That's pretty much the cosmic conflict. And that's why, again, if you know anything about the celestial wars and different sentientals, different extraterrestrial races, the draconians, reptilians, all that, that is a product of the original cosmic conflict. All right, so it is much bigger than, oh, my twin flame and my person. It is so much bigger. We are literally reenacting the original cosmic conflict when we come into these unions. But I'm going to get to that one in a second. So the internal process of the cosmic conflict. All right, so why did we separate? Why did we separate? On a macro level, they truly separate to reharmonize and excel further. On a micro level, there is a challenge in direction coming from either the sovereign masculine or the sovereign feminine. And when I say challenge in direction, possibly it could be it that one energy wants to learn one thing and one energy wants to learn another. Again, that's the micro level. The macro level is that they truly separate to reharmonize and excel further. This is why they separate. Thank you, Queenie. Appreciate you, my baby love. That's why they separate. And then okay, we can even kind of look at this on a religious level. We can look at this, we can apply this to anything really. It's even illustrated in a religious text. When Lucifer challenged God, saying, give the people free will to see what they will do instead of continuing the cycle of them worshiping you. Hence the word devil's advocate. That's where that comes from. That the devil was an adversary to God, but in a sense of advocating for humans. That's why the devil's so demonized, because the devil said, hey, like, let the people have free will. I think a lot of times we think that, quote unquote, Lucifer, which is very interesting when we talk about Lucifer, but that Lucifer is evil and that Lucifer rebelled against God, that Lucifer wanted to be God. Lucifer challenged God. So that was a reflection of, there was an original challenge, a separation in directions. God said, I want the people to worship me. Lucifer said, give them free will to see if they will do that on their own, right? Because let's just see, right? So then this becomes the big game. This life, this world is the game, okay? And when we talk about sovereignty, that is free will, right? That is the free will. When you're under divine law, right, it's not as sovereign. It's not as, when you're under divine law, you're under the law of karmic retribution, what have you. When you're under universal law, right, divine law versus universal law. Universal law is cited from the source. Divine law is cited from the God of this realm, right? You see what I'm saying here? So that's where the term devil's advocate comes from. So from this initial challenge, a cosmic conflict occurs. And we see this in each storyline. Okay, we see this with Lucifer being kicked out of heaven. We see this with the separation of divine masculine, or sovereign masculine, sovereign feminine. We see this we see this with extraterrestrial beings that are rebelling against the Galactic Federation. Okay, so this is universe, this is energy. This is pretty much the energy of what's happening, right? And so from this initial challenge, a cosmic conflict occurs and divine chaos, which puts sovereign feminine and masculine under divine law rather than the universal law they previously existed in. Again, the reason why they do this is because they want to experience, right? They want to experience the challenges and learn and master the version of their self to then come back together and share knowledge with each other, all right? And so they now exist as divine masculine, divine feminine to undergo the process of learning from this initial challenge. So what do they need to learn, right? So why, okay, we understand why they went into separation, but what do they need to learn? They truly truly they are learning to understand the lesson of their reflection. So when this cosmic conflict happened, it's so that we can understand each other better. It's not so that we can be against each other, right? So like the battle of the sexes, if you ever look at it, right? We constantly have this battle of the sexes. And the reason why we keep butting heads is because we're not embracing, we're not integrating what each other is saying, right? So, yes, sitting and listening, yes. So that's what they're essentially wanting to know. Um, basically, so what the divine masculine learns are the gems of wisdom divine feminine has mastered already. So whatever divine feminine has mastered, maybe she learned how to stand up for herself. Maybe she learned how to set boundaries. Maybe she learned how to nurture herself. So they separate so that divine masculine can learn the lessons that divine feminine has already mastered, because they truly want to come into a greater harmonization. And what divine feminine learns are the gems of wisdoms that the divine masculine has mastered in their state of harmony. Okay, so independence, going out to get what you want, right? So that's why we look at this time period that we're coming out of. We're coming out of the patriarchy. So we're coming out of a time space where feminines have been oppressed by masculine energy. And in a sense, if you really look deeper into it, the oppression is only toxic because it's that overprotective energy, overbearing energy. It goes into a karmic cycle at that point. So when we look at that, okay, so the patriarchy really was for feminines to be able to feel protected, to not have to do certain things, to be able to, you know, kind of be a little more focused on what their duties are. But it becomes toxic when the patriarchy says you can't work because you're a woman. And if you do work, you're not going to make as much money. You can't do this. You're a whore if you do that, right? It becomes toxic when it's overbearing, okay? It becomes toxic in a karmic cycle. And the karmic cycle is also part of the learning lesson as well. I'll get into that in a moment, because we also have existed in patriarchal societies that became toxic. Yeah, so like the masculine becomes the feminine. Exactly. We've existed in matriarchal societies that have become toxic, where the matriarch society says, oh, you're just a man. You don't know what you need. I know what you need to heal. I know what's best for you. I know what's going to nurture you and get you back, you know? And that's kind of what we are coming out of in totality. We're recalibrating and reharmonizing so that we can become sovereign again and become our God bodies. And the train just came by confirming what I'm saying. All right, so that's pretty much what's going on with that. They do this cosmic dance again in order to refine and master all parts of the self. So they will undergo a sleep state, a state of amnesia, or on the material plane. And I put material plane, like the material plane. So this physical plane. We go to sleep like sleeping giants. We forget who we are, what we're doing, so that we can relearn. Because if we already knew, it would just be going through the motions. It's like if you already knew how the movie ended, would you continue to watch the movie? And if you did continue to watch the movie, would you even feel excited at the twists and turns? No, you would just feel like, oh my gosh, I know exactly what's going to happen next. So we have to go to sleep. We have to have a period of rest from being super conscious, because that is the part of the lesson, is to wake up that super conscious, right? All right, so yet celestially and etherically, they are well aware of what's happening. So on the material plane, we say, wow, we have to fight for women's rights, or we have to fight for men's rights because we've been in a matriarch, or we've been in a patriarch that's been unfair to us. We do that because we went to sleep on the physical plane. Celestially, right? Our lineage, our celestial ancestors know, and we know that we're doing this to learn. We're doing this to create more balance. So it's kind of like you have to have chaos in order to have balance. If there is no chaos, then what does the scales do? If there's nothing to balance, then the scales has no job, right? And that's also how we need to look at the light and dark energy. Yeah, it's like being reborn anew. Exactly. A new version of you is reborn when you're able to take apart what you once had as a whole, even though you are still whole on a celestial level. You're still whole in the grand scheme of things. But the illusion is that you're separated. The illusion that it's the battle of the sexes. The illusion is that we're in a patriarchy. The illusion is that we're in a matriarchy, right? That's the illusion for us to learn, okay? So basically that they do this dance in order to truly refine and master all parts of the self, so that they undergo a sleeping state, a state of amnesia on the material plane. Yet celestially and etherically, they are well aware of what is happening. So then we get into the question, okay, we understand why we separated, we understand what we're learning. Why do we go into karmic cycles? What is the karmic cycles about? Okay. And since they decide to separate from the source of their being, which is universal law energy, they default into the divine law energy, which also incorporated karmic retribution. Okay. So when we talk about divine law, again, it's when you decide, it's almost like, okay, if you are an entrepreneur, let's say you're an entrepreneur, you're doing your thing, you're running your business, yada, 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 right? And you decide maybe you want to master a certain aspect of your business. Maybe you just jumped into being an entrepreneur and you didn't really understand the mechanics of running a business. So you're like, okay, there's a part of my internal process that I don't even understand. Let me go work for someone else, right? Let me go get an employer. So this employer, now I'm under the employer. I have to do what the employer says. If the employer says I take a break at 3:15 every day, that is when I have to take a break, okay? Because I forfeited being an entrepreneur to then become employed in order to learn the inner mechanics of running a business, I did this for a reason, right? So now I'm under this employer. Now, if I do something wrong with the job, I get reprimanded. That's pretty essentially the same thing here. My bad, y'all. Somebody was calling. But I'm doing a live, so they're gonna have to wait. So that's essentially like the energy of what's happening when it comes to that. This is some high level stuff, and I don't expect everybody to understand or get it or even be interested in it, but I feel as though it is definitely explaining a lot of why we see what we see in the world on a grand scale and on a micro level. And so those who are here, I appreciate y'all. So why do they enter karmic cycles? Like I said, it's pretty much wanting to learn. This is part of the sacrifice. So the karmic lesson is the sacrifice for the deharmonization. So, however, they choose how long they are to be in these cycles, because if they choose to learn the karmic lesson, so basically, they choose how long they are to be in these cycles. Because even if they do, even if they choose to learn the karmic lesson, if they do not make the next step, they default into more karmic lessons. All right. So that's the one thing about the karmic energy that is just like, you got to be real careful with this. So it's okay. Like I said, giving the example of the employer, let's say you and your counter whole, right? Your sovereign feminine and sovereign masculine, who are the entrepreneur. You guys are running your business. And then you guys realize, okay, I'm an entrepreneur, but I still feel like I need to learn a little bit more about why I'm doing what I'm doing, right? So then you go into becoming an entrepreneur to going into being an employer. So now you're being, this is the karmic energy in a sense, or you're learning the lesson, which entails karmic energy, okay? That's the sacrifice. However, after you've learned what you learn, you can then go back to being the entrepreneur, unless you keep basically it's like saying, the karmic lessons are like trials that you learn from. So this is part of the learning. The learning is the karma in a sense. The learning is the karma. The lesson, you're learning how to be more into your own internal process, but the actual lessons are karmic in a sense, or they can become karmic. And that's pretty much when you have, the reason why it becomes karmic is that it's a part of the sacrifice, it's a part of the debt, but it's also, in some cases, it remains karmic because you have already gathered the information. However, you have not made the leap to get back into that entrepreneur energy. So it becomes a repeating pattern. Karmic just means it repeats. It repeats, it repeats, it repeats, it repeats. That's pretty much all it is. Karmic is not necessarily something that we need to look at as good or bad. Karmic is just that. It just keeps looping, like Age of Pisces shit. So you keep looping until you get the point that this is a fucking hamster wheel and I need to get off this bitch. Because I want to go back to being an entrepreneur. I don't want to stay employed by someone. Okay? The lesson is I want to get the fuck out of this. I don't want to stay in this energy because I know I was not intended to stay in this energy. Right? So that's where we start to see, for some of us, even in our own lives, we start to see that we keep attracting certain people. We keep attracting certain jobs. We keep attracting certain drama, or certain things are happening in our life over and over and over and over and over again, because we need to understand either we didn't get the lesson or we learned the lesson, but we chose not to apply it to what we needed to do in order to get back into that entrepreneur energy, back into that God body energy. Okay, so that's why the karmic lessons keep happening for some of you guys that are not aware. So this implies, yes, that we must take action on what we've learned and apply it to the material realm in order to elevate. Otherwise, we create karmic loops. It's just like the same old, same old, same old. And I'm not gonna lie, and I've been a part of it. I'm not gonna lie, but even like in the tarot community, we keep creating these storylines. Oh, divine masculine, divine feminine, they're coming back, or they're not, or they're too scared to do this, or they're not, or it's like, when are we just going to be when are we just going to exist as we freely should exist? Why do we keep going back into this cycle, right? So when we talk about reunion, that brings the energy of, okay, we need to get back into union with each other. And that really first starts with self, becoming in union with yourself. The masculine and feminine that exists within you, not fighting or butting heads, but understanding and overstanding that the reasons why you guys are doing this is because you're not doing this. The reason why we have the patriarchy and then the matriarchy and then the patriarchy is because we're not integrating what we've learned to reunite back into the wholeness of self. And that starts on an interpersonal level. So that's that on that. So then we can look into, when does reunion take place? So basically, once both divine masculine and divine feminine realize the karmic lesson and apply that into the self to further elevation, they are able to attract each other by applying what they have learned towards each other. All right, so by practical application, they come back into wholeness for the grand reunion of the God body, which takes them out of divine law and back into universal law, thus reharmonizing the sovereignty to now form the sovereign hermaphrodite God body. When we talk about sovereign hermaphrodite God body, that is, so first, in order to even reunite, if we're looking at just energies, let's say we're looking at the world on a grand level. All right, so if we're looking at the masculine and feminine energy of this world, right? How are we going to integrate? How are we going to have peace on earth? How we're going to have peace on earth is by learning what was not working for us before. What were we consistently doing that did not assist us in our higher elevation? So fighting over resources, that does not help us reunite. That keeps us separated. How do we reharmonize? Well, we got to learn that we all are on this planet together. We all have to share resources. Fighting for things is never going to bring us unity or harmony. That's just not going to happen. And so as we continue to fight, that's the karmic cycle. That's why there's been World War I, World War II, and now they're wanting it to be World War III, okay? Because, excuse me, I'm channeling y'all. The energies, like, people are not understanding, like, we've been doing this forever. We've been fighting forever. There's been a war forever. You get me? How do we get out of this war? We put down our weapons. We stop fighting each other. And we say, okay, let me listen to my opposing party. Let me seek to understand, first by listening to self. I don't want to fight anymore with my counter whole. I don't want to fight with my masculine. I don't want to fight with my feminine. I want to understand my masculine. I want to understand my feminine. What do they need from me? What are they needing in general? So let's take away the war and the fights. What is the reason why you're fighting and warring? Because you have a need that is either not being fulfilled or whatever, right? So let me understand what you need. What do you need? And that starts with self. So the fight that we see in the world is the fight that happens inside of us because our needs are not being met on an internal level, right? Our needs are not being met. There's an imbalance, right? And the imbalance is very, it's divinely orchestrated. It's for a divine purpose, but we need to understand what that is for, right? So understanding that and being able to, yes, I was just telling my friends this. Exactly. Queenie, I fucks with you because you just on here learning and listening and loving, and I appreciate that a lot because this is the true energy of coming into union or reunion. But yeah, basically once they realize the karmic lesson and apply that into the self for further elevation, they're able to attract each other by applying what they have learned towards each other. So by practical application, they come back into wholeness for the grand reunion of the God body, which takes them out of divine law and back into universal law, which is the laws that you create for yourself, thus reharmonizing the sovereignty to now form the sovereign hermaphrodite God body, two parts of a whole working together, okay? Which also eradicates the need to even identify as masculine or feminine because it creates a third energy, which is genderless. Hermaphrodite energy is neither masculine nor feminine. It's genderless. Now you have no need for a title. The reason why we have titles are to identify who's doing what. But when you come back into union, you are whole and you don't need to try to break it down anymore. The breakdown was the divine, going from sovereign into divine. So when you come back into sovereign, you don't need to say, well, that's the man and that's the woman, and the man should do this and the woman should do that. Wherever you have the skill, the knowledge, the resource to do your part is where it will be applied. It works as one. We don't have to work separately anymore because we're not under divine law, right? So it creates a genderless energy. They exist as a third energy. And that's why I'm always preaching 1 + 1 should equals 3. If I'm one whole energy and there's another whole energy and it combines, it makes a third energy. Just like if a man has sex with a woman, they create a baby, okay? So if 1 + 1 equals 2, you still in divine energy. You get me? You're still in the divine. And it's not to say that that's a bad thing. Some people need to go into that level of learning. But when we talk about universal, and I think that's another thing that people get a little bit confused, and it's their interpretation. So I have no judgment on whether they get confused or not. But when we talk about God, we have to realize that a lot of us talk about God in a way that we want to reference the source, but we're referencing the God of this realm. And so when we bring our minds and expand it way bigger than that, we understand that the source is the God that we think we're talking about when we say God. So sometimes we say, I know God's going to help me out, or God's going to do this. And you're talking about the Zeus God, like the pantheon God. You're not talking about the source God. The source God is the one that creates all life, that all life comes from, the white hole, essentially. But you have to go through the black hole to get to the white hole. You have to go through the divine to get to the universal, right? So some people are in divine school and some people are going into universal school, and that's okay. That's fine. All right. It encompasses the whole. It encompasses the all. But that's why I say 1 + 1 equals 3, right? So if one part of me, my feminine plus my masculine, equals me being genderless, I'm androgynous. I don't have to identify as a man or a woman, regardless of my physical appearance, because I understand, overstand, and understand that I am encompassing all, and that it takes all to create me. It takes all for me to create. All right. So yeah, and then that brings us to the trimensional energy of our dimensional energy. So we come out of, so dark becomes light. Sorry, this just interesting. Yes, the dark, so when we even talk about dark and light energy, darkness is on the spectrum of light. It's just not on the extreme spectrum of light. Darkness is not necessarily void of light. It is on a spectrum of light. It is lacking an extreme of light, but it still holds a certain vibration. Even when we talk about darkness, it really, and shout outs to Ellington for this, dark matter and the dark, like what we call darkness, is really just what we don't see, the invisible, right? When we talk about there's dark forces, okay, those are basically unseen forces. Or even when we talk about shadow government, that's the unseen government. So when we talk about dark, we have to demonize and deconstruct our ideas around what dark is. Dark is just invisible. When we talk about the dark world, it's just the world that we don't see, right? The light world is the world that we do see. And I'm going to get into that in a little bit about the false light energy. But we're going to talk about that in just a moment. I appreciate that question. What's up, Miss Tootie? I appreciate that question, Queenie. So yeah, it brings us out of it brings us into trimensional energy and out of dimensional energy. Even when you think about divine, dimensional, it gives a divide. It's 2 instead of 1. Instead of it being omnidimensional or omni, because omni is the all in one, right? So we get into the trimensional energy. Here's the space where we can leap from dimensional timelines, duality, and into trimensional timelines, which are simultaneous energy. So past, present, and future are all happening at once. Because when we're in the realm of duality, it's this or that, black or white, instead of understanding that they're on the same spectrum. The sun and the moon, right? So the moon comes out at night and the sun comes out at day, but what is the consistency of it? Where is the line that they both sit on, right? It's not the sun versus the moon. It's the sun and the moon. They are both a part of the ecosystem of our celestial experience that we need in order to have a complete and whole experience. So we don't need to look at it as this is the daytime versus the nighttime. This is just the time. This is just the experience that we're having. And we're going to come back to this in just a moment because this tridimensional energy is the foundation for the 3, 6, 9, 12, which is the spiraling sequence of all that exists. It is the formula of which creation was born and births more creation. Okay, so just like how I said, 1 + 1 = 3. One whole being plus another whole being creates a third energy. That sets the tone, the foundation for tridimensional energy, because then that's the 3 energy. And then from the 3, you can build the 6. From the 6, you can build the 9. All right, so, and that's what's called Fibonacci sequence, but I kind of don't want to call it that. I want to call it just the tridimensional energy. So then we get into our next topic, which is universal unions that are occurring now and the ritual reenactment of the original cosmic conflict. So when we look at these universal unions, because they're no longer divine, they're sovereign unions. They're under universal law. Now they write the story. The story doesn't write them. They don't have to abide by an employer because they learned the karmic lessons from being employed. Now they're like, hey, I'm an entrepreneur. Woo! I can do my own thing. I can set my own hours. I can take my break when I want to. I don't have to deal with karmic energy. I can just be me, right? And so when we talk about these unions that we see here, these twin flames, these soulmates, this is where this comes into place. Now that we've understood the original separation of feminine and masculine, how they come back together, now we can look at the micro level of it, which are the unions that we find ourselves in on our spiritual journeys. Again, when we look at the rise of divine unions taking place in the spiritual community, we must truly understand how we are reflecting on a micro level what is occurring on a macro level. So for most, they interpret this as a spiritual journey itself. The spiritual journey is not about an external relationship with a hint of spirituality. It's the reemerging with sovereignty through coming into union with the God body of self. The ritual here that is being reenacted is that you come back into union with self. And then because we live in a material world, a physical reality, what happens internally is also reflected externally. So when we come into union with self, we then reflect another that is in union with self. And then we come together, AKA 1 + 1 = 3. So that's pretty much what these unions are. They're just a ritual reenactment, similar to, and I will say this, trigger warning for anybody, I'm going to mention sexual abuse, molestation. A lot of people don't understand that a lot of stuff that's happened in our family bloodline, the people that was touching little kids and all that keeps going, especially in the Black families, that is a ritual reenactment of the original trauma of another extraterrestrial race raping humanity. And then it corrupts humanity to go forth and rape itself. So we have we have these extremes. We have these kind of things, these unions that are ritual reenactments. We also have some of the darker things that are ritual reenactments. And that's the one thing I want to say. Like, a lot of people be like, they love to talk about secret societies and the Masons and all that. And yeah, don't tell nobody. You're in the biggest secret society if you have ever been molested and you didn't say anything. And that's no judgment to you, because I understand what that's about. But if you have been touched or you touched someone and you weren't able to speak that out, you are in a secret society, my friend. You are in one of the biggest occult secret societies. You are also a part of it. So when we talk about these ritual reenactments, this is the case with all things. How the world is today is a ritual reenactment of the cosmic conflict, the original separation. Even the molestation is a reenactment from the cosmic conflict. It all goes back to the cosmic conflict, okay? And again, this is not to shame anybody. This is not to make anybody feel bad. This is simply to say, once we've learned the lessons on the karmic loop, Once we learn, hey, this has happened in my family. I've realized that this generational curse of not being able to speak up for myself has happened in my family for a lot of generations. Then you can say, let me come into one with myself. And coming into one with yourself may be, let me speak out about this. So I don't want to be in the secret society. I don't want to be like everybody that got touched and didn't say nothing. Of course, it was out of fear, but the thing that happens with that is that when you continue to not say anything, you continue to be a part of the ritual. I didn't want to be a part of the ritual. I didn't. So I told the person that touched me, hey, I know that you touched me. And I told the person that I touched, hey, I touched you and I apologize for that because I was under a ritual. I was reenacting an original ritual. So pardon me, I did not know any better, right? I'm just saying, y'all. I mean, it's a harsh truth, but it all goes back to this original cosmic conflict, all right? So back to the situation at hand. So basically, uniting the masculine and feminine within you reestablishes the connection of the God body of self. So now that we got that out the way, we can look at the trend of these unions and see how it directly mirrors the cosmic conflict. We start with the person complete and whole within self at birth. Then through the challenge initiated, which is coming into carnation on earth, that is the challenge initiated, we forget temporarily who we are to master what our higher self understands. And because we are in an interactive world and the mirrors we use are external representations of self, we find our counterpart externally and we come into union. My family is different. I have a lot of families who had addiction problem, long line of family. Exactly. The original trauma, it may not be like molestation. It could be other things. It could be addictions, like you said. It can be alcoholism. It can be anything. But it's the original stealing, right? Raping and inserting a toxic energy. So you're swapping out energy from the innocent and giving them this karmic energy, right? That's the original ritual. And when you're quiet about it, when you're not breaking the cycle, then you're a part of the ritual. You're a part of it. You're a part of a secret society. When you speak out against it, that's why they can't stand for whistleblowers to blow the whistle. Why is it that y'all so, because they want to be in the unseen. The dark wants to remain unseen. That's why when you shine the light on the darkness, they're like, damn, like that's why they get mad and people end up missing or killing themselves in jail or whatever the fuck. It's because they spoke out and they don't like that. And that's fine. They don't have to like that. That's not the position that they play. They don't play the position of liking the light. They play the position of being the dark for the light to shine. And that's simply just light and dark energy working together. So yeah. So basically, again, like I said, you come into this world, the initiated challenge is coming into the world, forgetting who you are. And then you come back into balance and you find a counterpart. Okay. So the external representation of self, we find our counterpart externally and come into union by first mastering the karmic cycles. Before you can even come into union, you have to master a karmic cycle, right? Remember, because you have to get out of the karmic loop by learning the lessons of being in the karmic loop. It repeats as we go on. Okay, so we come back to one, we realize we are attracting our partner through the lessons we have learned, and we come into union. Oftentimes within the union, the cosmic conflict restarts. So the mirrors go into separation again, because on a soul level, they wish to exceed the level of sovereignty that they've previously existed in. They wish to learn more. All right, so sometimes we have the separation happens, a specific person will fall off and go into a karmic cycle, or both will go into karmic cycles, which then allows for another external mirror to come take their place, but only after one of the mirrors levels up. So, for example, you can do this with one person. That's why people have those breakup to makeups. Those people that you're like, oh my God, you guys have broken up like 20 times. It's because they are reaching higher levels of sovereignty. Hopefully, we all have free will. So some people are going to decide to stay in their karmic lessons a little bit longer than others. Some people are going to decide that, okay, while I'm staying in my karmic lesson a little bit longer, my other reflection has learned their karmic lesson and now they are going on to a new mirror to learn new lessons. It's all about just what your soul has chosen, your soul path, your individual blueprint, and your soul mission. That's what, like I said, that's why there's people that are like break up to make up, and people are like, y'all ain't gonna never leave each other. Well, maybe not. Maybe they won't, because maybe they decided to learn with each other and that's who they prefer to learn with. We all have free will. They can choose to learn with another, But if they choose to learn with each other, we're not to judge, right? We're not to judge if there's somebody in a marriage and they're always going through shit, because that's just how their soul is learning. They're getting some karmic debt out the way. How about that? They're getting some karmic lessons out the way. So yeah, but some will, in some cases, they'll fall off. One person will fall off, go into a karmic cycle, which then allows for another external mirror to come and take their place, but only after one of the mirrors levels up. And then they reharmonize, become the God body again. So this is just the name of the game. This is just how this happens. It's not like we're ever going to stay in a blissful state of, oh, we're always going to be at this godly level. We'll never go back down. We come down to go back up, and we go up to come back down. And that's just how it's been happening. That's how it kind of is. It happens this way. In order for us to accelerate on a collective level, because these unions are not for us. They're not just for the individuals or the people desiring what they want out of the union. They are for the collective. So us coming into union and separating and coming back together is not just for us individuals. It's for the collective. And the things that we learn are kept in a database, aka the Akashic records, of learning. So really what we are living for is not just for us. We're not just living for us. We are living for everyone. All of us here are living for each other and for the higher realms, so that we can elevate the consciousness here. And at some point we will be able to live in union. At some point we will be able to live in a harmonized state, and it may be prolonged. We may be able to ground that energy and ground that light, right? So that we don't have this influx all the time. But for now, this is what we're dealing with, all right? Yeah, so that's basically what happens. And like, again, this happens as many times as your soul desires to learn and elevate. This is by which the universe expands and grows. And now we're going to talk about the inner mechanics of the 3, 6, 9, and 12 and how that's connected to the micro interactions. So I just hope y'all understand what these unions are for now, because I think a lot of people didn't understand it before. Feel free to share this video with others that you know who may be able to understand this, or others that you know want to see this information. Share it far and wide. So we're going to get into the 3, 6, 9, 12 communication, going from dimensional to trimensional energy. So this energy is pretty much, it also embodies the dimensions going into trimensions. So we go from the 3D, which is 3D, three-dimensional. Then we go into the 6D, which can start to be trimensional, but it truly only gets trimensional when you enter the 9th trimension and the 12th trimension. And so this is where the 9th dimension, because right, 3, 6, 9. How many 3s do you need to make a 9? 3 plus 3 plus 3 is 9. I learned a lot. Thank you. You're very welcome. I'm so happy to serve. I mean, I'm happy to use my God-given gifts and talents and interactions and stories and experiences I've had to share with you all. And then for y'all to go out and do whatever you guys need to do with that. But yeah, we get to the trimensional energy when we get into the 9th dimension. So these are just because, like, we're moving at a rapid pace. Like, we're already technically in the 6th dimension. And some people are moving from the 6th to the 7th and the 8th. And once we hit the 9, baby, you're in trimensional. All these storylines, the past, present, and future is happening all at once. So all the timelines are occurring at once. Your past lives are happening at the same time that your current life is happening, at the same time that your future life is happening. And I believe that this is very indicative of that when we even look at extraterrestrials or those benevolent races of people that are, not people, but the benevolent races of beings. Look it up on YouTube. There's plenty of people that have had encounters with these otherworldly beings, right? They are essentially us from the future. How are they able to come to us now? Because they're living in trimensional energy. They're no longer restricted to dimensional. They're in trimensional energy, right? So even when we look at these unions, how we communicate with each other, the first 3 dimensions of communicating with your partner are pretty basic. Your partner is communicating from a first person standpoint. Words are words, but energy is also energy. So your person could be saying exactly what they're saying to you, and that's what it is. You don't have to read too deep. They're saying exactly what they mean. Although energy is still being felt, you can feel the energy of it, right? That's leading us to the next 3 dimensions, take us to the 6th dimension. So now, even if a certain sequence of words are being fielded into the interaction, you're able to communicate on the 6D, meaning you're able to talk telepathically. words and energy may not match, but energy is more resonant in this space. So in the 6D, you can have a 3D conversation with somebody and you could be saying, my favorite color is blue. And that's what you're saying and that's what you mean. The energy may be, you may be fielding the energy like, okay, they really like this color, or I'm able to like get a better understanding of what they're saying about what they like and what they don't like. On the 60, I could be saying my favorite color is blue, but telepathically I could be saying, I remember when I lived in the ocean, or I'm blue because I miss you, or I'm like, you know, it can be a range of things, right? And even with the 3D energy, like you can be saying one thing, like, yeah, I don't know what I want to eat. But then in the 6th dimension, you're saying, I just want you to choose what we're going to eat for dinner tonight. So in the 3D, it's like, I really don't know what I want to eat. But 6D, you're saying, I just want you to choose what we're going to eat tonight. I'm not really sure. Telepathically, you're saying that. So that's how we get into those energies too, where you're talking with words, but you're also speaking telepathically. And that is, I've had that experience and that shit is dope. All right, so the next 3 dimensions take us out of dimensional energy and into trimensional energy, because now you're able to channel messages to yourself through the partner you're engaging with. So it can get tricky with this energy. So here it is, pure energy. So gender is of no regard. You could be the physical masculine talking to the physical feminine, but express yourself as the feminine to the masculine energy. I know it gets a little confusing. So in my partnership that I had, that energy looked like I was the physical feminine, he was the physical masculine, but he was telling me that I deserve better. I deserve something better. I deserve to be treated and appreciated better. And when we took ourselves out of these bodies and we resonated with energy, it was the feminine energy speaking to the masculine energy. Even though he was the masculine presenting person, I was the feminine presenting person. Him saying to me, I deserve to be treated better, was the feminine saying to the masculine, I deserve to be treated better. So that can, like I said, that can get a little tricky, because then you come out of physicality and you go into like trimensional energy, which is anything is possible at that point. All right. So yeah, that energy is a little tricky, y'all. But the next three dimensions bring us to the 12th dimension, which goes back to the 3, because 1 + 2 is 3, right? But you are at the base. I have an experience that I was talking to someone. She feels like me, but not me. See, that could be a twin soul energy as well. So you go back to the 3, but you're at the base of the next level. This is the energy of not needing to speak at or towards during this interaction. All is known from both partners at the same exact time. So this energy is even more like when you have a partner, you guys think the same thoughts at the same exact time, because you are in sovereign hermaphrodite God body. Essentially, you create a third consciousness for information to be stored and shared from merging consciousnesses. This is the 1 + 1 = 3 theory being applied directly. So when you're in your 12th dimensional energy with a partner like that, you guys could literally like be on the same app at the same time, not even knowing it. Like, for example, you could be on their page and they could be on your page at the same exact time. You could be on the same exact act, looking at each other at the same exact time. You have shared thoughts in a sense that it exceeds telepathy, because you don't even need to talk. You guys are moving as God bodies. So it's almost like you guys' brains are merged. You guys are merging consciousnesses to where you share a stream of consciousness with this person. And I've had that happen as well too, where it's like somebody will like me and the partner I had, they'll like my picture, like they'll like one of my, or like I'll be on TikTok, for example, and they'll like a video. As soon as I get on TikTok, they like the video. You get me? Like, it's that kind of energy where you guys move as one, okay? So that's pretty much the whole energy I have for y'all today. I know this was a lot. And I actually do have another reference here just for you all to see. Have another little, just something that you guys may need to hear for today. This was a really, really long video, but I feel like it's very informative and it may be hard to digest, but just keep watching it. It'll make sense. It'll make sense, and you'll see where you're at in your process. You'll see if you're in the karmic patterns, if you're in the reuniting phase or whatever. You'll see what you need to see. And it takes a less personal approach. When you're able to see it this way, you're not so caught in the storylines of this person did this to me and that person did that. You're like, okay, this person was going through some karmic cycles. I learned my karmic lesson, or they learned their karmic lesson. Now we're able to integrate ourselves and come back to one, or I get a new partner switch. Like, you take it less personally because it's business, not personal. It's cosmic business. It's not personal. All right. So I want to give y'all a short message. I might pull some cards, although I don't really feel the need to, but I might pull some cards. This year, all we must do is release to receive what is meant for you. There's no need to work for anything because you are everything. I'm going to repeat that. There is no need to work for anything because you are everything. Be who you naturally are in order to receive what you naturally deserve. Emprex, which is the combination of Empress and Emperor energy, which is sovereign hermaphrodite God body energy. Emprex energy is the ability to be everything, which is 0 point energy. So you create from nothing, like you're everything. So you're at the void, you're at the 0 point. And that's the cosmic cunt of creatrix, or creating from no thing. No thing is one into something which is two, the number of connection of the sovereign feminine, sovereign masculine energy, which can give you anything, which is three, right? The energy, three, the energy of the trinity of whatever is possible. And that gives the foundation of this year, three, which is also based in two. 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 6, right? But 3 plus 3 is also 6. So we reverse engineer going from doing something into being everything to create anything, instead of trying to be something from nothing. New pathways of ancient remembrance emerge from allowing ourselves to be cleansed of old identities, because underneath the mask of who you thought you were is who you actually are. This is the false light effect. The false light is that of who you were conditioned to be. So when you shine from this place, the light only reaches so far, right? This false light is the light of ego, or solely the intellect. However, the true light infuses the fullness of light. The reason why false light is because it doesn't know how to incorporate dark matter to shine. So when we try to be like overly positive, like, incorporate that dark energy. That's what's going to make you shine. You're not going to shine as bright if you're not fully integrating the dark. If you're not fully integrating what brings brilliance to light, right? True light embraces intellect and soul energy. The soul knows for growth there may be challenging experiences or darker contrasts to one's life in order to illuminate the light of the body, mind, soul. This is true light brilliance. However, in this life, we are challenged by our own power that is isolated within a certain realm of existence. We're challenged by our own mind. We're challenged by the ego. We're challenged by the intellect. And so the goal is to not even try to separate from the intellect or the soul, but to bring it into whole. Your soul knows that, maybe for some of you guys, you got molested as a child. Your soul knows that that was not a good or bad thing. That was what was required for you to shine your light and be brilliant. It required you to activate yourself fully, right? But when we bring it down to 3D, we get traumatized by these storylines, right? Instead of saying that situation, what's up, Aisha? Instead of saying that situation didn't happen to me so that I could just be in the dark complaining and being upset about it. It happened to me so I can activate the brilliance of my soul so that my soul could shine. And what is truth? Truth is, what is light? Light is truth. So it didn't happen to you so that you could be quiet. It happened to you so you could say the truth and speak the truth and break out of that energy so you can shine light on it. The darkness contrasts the light so the light can be more brilliant. If we were all surrounded by light, how will we know what the true brilliance of light really is? All right? That's what I got for y'all. I got that for y'all. I'm like, y'all want me to pull some cards or what? What y'all want me to do? Y'all want me to pull some cards? Y'all want me to bring it down from the 12th dimension back to the 3D, right? Because we got to go down to come up and we got to go up to come down, right? I'll do that for y'all. I feel y'all needing some information. Let's get some information for y'all. today on this beautiful Venusian day. Venusian. We are so connected and my mind is free. So this could be from your counterpart, their soul. I'm getting messages from your sovereign feminine, sovereign masculine self. They want to tell you this. All right. Don't be afraid. We are so connected. Don't be afraid. What does the sovereign feminine want to say to the sovereign masculine, please? My death was painless. Please don't worry or hold on to guilt. This is your dark night of the soul. All right. So the sovereign feminine wants to tell the sovereign masculine, my transformation, my spiritual awakening was painless. Please don't worry or hold on to guilt. Now, I ain't gonna lie. It can be painful to go through a spiritual awakening, but they're saying it was painless. The pain didn't faze them. I feel happy and healthy. I wish I had told you more often how much I love you. All right. All right, let's see what is the sovereign masculine. And this doesn't mean like if you're looking at it like sovereign feminine being the woman, that's not the case. Your male counterpart, whoever you're dealing with, could be the sovereign feminine. You could be the sovereign masculine. So take what resonates, how it resonates. All right, what are the messages from the sovereign masculine to the sovereign feminine, please? Although you may not understand it now, everything happens for a reason. Okay? They're putting some pieces of the puzzle together. All right? And they're saying, I'm learning over here. So they're learning. They're learning. Yeah. We will be together again. Aw, so this is that energy of reuniting again. I am so much better now. I feel happy and healthy. All right? We'll get a little tarot with it. We'll get a little tarot. If y'all made it up until this point and y'all really, really want the tarot, I give you the tarot. I give it to you now. All right, let's see what's going on. We have the Six of Wands at the bottom of the deck. So this is victory, triumph, elevation, emotional elevation. Let's see what the sovereign feminine wants the sovereign masculine to know. That they're starting to have a victory. They're starting this new passionate journey and they're having victory. Also, they're emotionally elevating. So their emotions are going to higher levels. All right, so they're understanding something more emotionally in a higher way. Seven of Pentacles, I forgave him last night. Good, Aisha. I love it. Forgiveness. Yes. Please forgive. Because that's how we're able to reunite again. When we let go of the butting heads and we infuse instead. All right. Seven of Pentacles. Your sovereign feminine is putting in that work. Okay. Yeah. They're putting in that work. They're investing in this death. Okay. They're putting their all in this death. This spiritual awakening. This spiritual transformation. What does the sovereign feminine want to say to the sovereign feminine? The sovereign feminine, what does the sovereign feminine want to say to the sovereign masculine? Yeah, Knight of Wands here. This could be an energy of feeling afraid or going back and forth, but they have put their all into this death moment. Yeah, they're going back and forth about how they feel. Let's clarify this Knight of Wands. Two of Cups. Yeah, they're going back and forth about this connection here. To me, this Knight of Wands just gives me the energy of they have hope though. So they may be going back and forth about hoping for this connection. They're letting go of something that doesn't serve them. This false light, sun card reverse. It's not the real sun. The real sun is the black sun. Okay, that's another thing. We'll talk about that another day. But yeah. Yeah, they're moving on from some sort of heartbreak or conflict. So the conflict was the internal fight within. The sovereign feminine is saying, I'm moving on from this internal fight within. I no longer want to fight myself. This Knight of Wands energy, I also feel this Knight of Wands energy, it feels like it's fleeting emotions, but this sovereign feminine is having hope for this reuniting. Yes, the Wheel of Fortune. They're saying, I hope that this turns out in our favor. Yes. So the sovereign feminine sees that in order to have what they're desiring, they have to reveal something or be honest and transparent with themselves. Yeah. Some of them are blocking their awareness about what's happening. They could be blocking their intuition at this time. Okay, it's for a purpose. Yes, the Queen of Wands. They're taking action. The sovereign feminine is. They're going to start taking action on what they feel, okay? Because they were going back and forth. They may have had regrets and sadness, but they're learning their karmic lesson and they're going to be victorious, okay? They're waiting for the energy to die down for their masculine so that they can come forth and say what they need to say. All right, what is the sovereign masculine saying to the sovereign feminine at this time? What is sovereign masculine saying to sovereign feminine? Okay, so what the sovereign masculine is saying with the moon card reverse is that they're no longer deceiving themselves. Their intuition is telling them what's going on. Two of Wands. So if someone had to separate, they understand now that it's to learn a certain lesson. It's not, yes, the high priestess. They're using their intuition. The page of cups here with the high priestess. Okay, so the sovereign masculine wants to tell the sovereign feminine, hey, I'm out of these illusions. I'm not deceiving myself anymore. I understand the plan because I'm using my intuition. I'm following my higher self, the high priestess. That's why it says I'm over here learning, right? Yeah, the hermit card, high priestess with the hermit. So if this person's going ghost on you, or if you went ghost on someone, whatever the case may be, it's because something here, it's like something was not stable. 10 of Cups reverse. Something in this connection was off balance here. So they want to manifest avoiding a conflict. So it's like, okay, I don't want to be in that. I have to go in and learn myself, because if I continue to exist with you the way I have been, it's going to have a conflict. Anything else the sovereign masculine wants to say to the sovereign feminine, please? They're learning their lesson and they're releasing whatever they need to release. All right. So for some of them, they're walking away from the karmic energy. They're working on getting unstuck from this false light. Okay. They're getting unstuck from this false light. Anything else the sovereign masculine wants to say to sovereign feminine before we get out of here? Yep. 9 of Pentacles. They're aware that they have to come out of this karmic energy. So for some of them, they have to release you, or you have to release them, so that they can come out or become more aware, right? Because this false light, they were only going based off the mind, the ego, the intellect. They were not integrating, right? So it seems like both of you guys are going through spiritual transformations here, all right? Both of y'all are going through spiritual transformations. You have the Lover's card. All to come back again. It's funny how we have the 2 of Cups over here and the Lover's card over here. Yeah. For some of you guys, the sovereign masculine is trying to come out. They regret. They're dealing with some form of sadness and regret for being indecisive, or not being able to see, not being able to clearly listen to their intuition. But then that's where they need to learn. So you see how the sovereign masculine learns the lesson of sovereign feminine? Sovereign feminine knows how to use their intuition. The sovereign masculine is like, hey, I'm being better at using my intuition. All right. And then sovereign feminine is like, hey, I'm moving forward from fighting with myself. I'm not fighting with myself anymore. The judgment for both is to stop stressing about the situation. Stop worrying about it. A burden's going to be put down quickly, and they're going to go back to being sovereign. They're going to go back to being whole again. All right. Yeah. Some of them, I'm going to just leave it right there. Yeah, I'm going to just leave it right there. Some people were motivated to take a bad leap of faith for money, okay? Because they were almost feeling like they were waiting for some sort of rejection, or, so that was like the self-sabotaging behaviors. All right, they were doing something for a physical reaction. So they decided to do something for a physical reaction. And then we have this tridimensional energy. So the true sovereign celestial hermaphrodite God body. This is that 1 + 1 = 3 energy. So there's a celebration when truth is exposed, when light is truly being exposed and brilliant. All right. That's all I have for you guys. That was a really interesting little tidbit. I like that. I like it. I like it a lot. I hope that you can put that in your pipe and smoke it. No, I'm just playing. Hope you guys enjoyed the energy here. This was very high vibrational. I enjoy you guys coming through. Like the video if this message applies or resonates with you. I appreciate y'all for coming to the live. I hope that you have a beautiful Venusian day. For all my Venusians, all my Libras and my Tauruses, whether you have that in your Venus, Sun, Moon, or Rising, or if you have both. And you know, I appreciate y'all for coming through, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Take care of yourself. Pamper yourself. Do what you need to do for yourself today. Today is for you. It's not for anybody else. It's for you. All right. I love you guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye. You're very welcome, Queenie. Bye.